Good morning and welcome to your Saturday morning, early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, America's kick-ass coach and psychologist, here with some words to get us rolling today. And again, it tested that we needed to be doing a card deck instead of going back to our book for now. I'm sure at some point we'll get the heads up that it's time to return to the book and do some more work. Good morning, Carolyn. Welcome, welcome. Glad you are here. But for today, we have a card deck again, and this is one that was kind of buried at the bottom of the middle row of card decks. Good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Joe. Welcome. Glad you're here. Soul Coaching Deck by Denise Lynn. And Denise Lynn is just one of those people who is so plugged in, And I love her energy. She's just very unassuming and present and cool. So I'm kind of glad we got her deck for today, the Soul Coaching Deck. And the subtitle is What Your Soul Wants You to Know. And when I pulled the card and read it, I just kind of giggled because it, again, fits in with what we're working on and where we're at and what's all happening, etc. So let's just settle in for a moment, some nice deep breaths. Centering and right here, right now, enjoying just being. And our card for today is transformation. Transformation. And you can see the little chrysalis there hanging off the branch and the butterfly to the side and a crescent moon. We actually were pretty close to a full moon last night. It was full moon the night before, I believe. It says, the statement is, I am joyously centered and safe as wonderful changes occur around me. And I think part of the reason people were feeling off earlier this week might have been the full moon coming and the massive amount of change that's going on in our world. And yesterday I was talking about flow, when we move into the flow with ease and allow it to take us where we're going, things go a whole lot better. But sometimes subconsciously we just sort of resist because we're feeling that energetic pull of the transformation, but we haven't consciously yet said, oh yeah, this is transformation. I need to let go and go with it. So this subconscious fight comes up. So let's see what it has to tell us. Transformation. Card meaning. Positive changes are coming. Yay. Old structures, beliefs, and ideas are falling away and will be replaced with vitality and new pathways. Soon you'll be seeing the world in a fresh way. I like that. Soon you'll be seeing the world in a fresh way. Won't that be lovely? So we can just begin now by practicing. I'm going to open my eyes. I remember as a little kid, often did this. Lay on my bed, look up at the ceiling, and think to myself, what if we walked on the ceiling? Well, then we'd have to step over the tops of the doorways, which now would be the bottoms of the doorways. And I'd just go through this whole thing, kind of flipping my perceptual world around just to play with it. We can still do that. Flip your perceptual world around and play with it a little bit and see what you get. And the old structures, beliefs, and ideas are falling away. Some are falling away, some are actually imploding, and some of that implosion energy can be what we're picking up also that gets a little bit uncomfortable. Welcome to the other two of you I haven't said hi to yet. Your names didn't roll, but I can see there's 5 of you on here. So your soul wants you to know, like the phoenix that rises majestically from the ashes, a big change in your life is at hand. You're at the beginning, in the middle, or at the completion of an enormous transformation in your life. Don't hold on to old structures and limited ways of thinking. I think if you take nothing else out of this card, that is the key thing. Don't hold on to that old. Good morning, Diane. Allow. Let go of what you've been hanging on to. Let it move through and see what comes in place of it. So don't hold on to old structures and limited ways of thinking. And now I think we're beginning to feel that limitation. Whereas before, we just lived in limitation. Now I think we're at least aware that there's a girdle on our thinking, and that it's time to free ourselves from that. Even if it looks as if you're in murky waters, this is only the clearing that occurs just before rebirth. It's all in your highest good. So the way I like to think about it is when you're rinsing out a milk container, right? You put the water in there and you swish it around. It makes the water that's in there murky because it's combining with the remaining milk in the container, and then you dump it out and you have a clean container. So that's what we're doing right now. This murkiness is because we're swishing. And soon we'll dump it out and it'll be a clear container. And then there may be that period of time where you're holding the empty container and you don't know what's going to fill it. And that can be very uncomfortable for us. But if we allow it, then good morning, Susan, what's meant to fill it can flow in. If we preempt the process and we jam something into the container to fill it up because it's uncomfortable having it empty, there's no room then for what would be divine right timing and divine right order. You just did that this morning. I love that. Yes. Think about that. And when we do those things, so Cindy, you can think back on doing it. Some of the rest of us, as we empty out containers and rinse them out for recycling, which I hope you recycle, use that as a metaphor for what's going on in your life. We're being rinsed out, we're being allowed to be the empty vessel, and then we'll be filled with what's meant to be there. So I can give you a little example. I've talked a couple of times in the past about my friend who's been she wants to move back to this area, and she's been waiting for a place to open up, and it hasn't been happening. She's been frustrated. She's been doubting, etc., etc. Last week, 2 places opened up. When it rains, it pours. So she'll be moving. But again, it was about going through that uncomfortable period of time, the chrysalis, waiting, the green muck stage, when you're no longer what you were, you're not yet what you're going to be, you're green muck. But that's a Sue Monk Kid, for those of you who don't know what that reference is. That's a Sue Monk Kid, what's the name of the book? When the Heart Waits. Fabulous book. If you haven't read it, fabulous book. But we need to, here's where the faith and trust comes in. And I was talking about that yesterday with someone too. Faith and trust that things will unfold. Well, I can tell you. So yesterday, let the murkiness go, let the light in. Yes, it's happening. It is happening. And when we realize it's happening, when we can acknowledge this is what's happening, it's like telling a little kid when their legs hurt, this is growing pains. This is growing pains. Then they at least have a way to understand what's happening that's uncomfortable, all right? So yesterday, I've been thinking about my friend Bobby Silverstone, and she said when we talked yesterday that she had been thinking about me too. We were on each other's minds, and just didn't get around to making the phone call, or I'd think about it at a time where I knew she was teaching a yoga class or whatever. So she popped up on yesterday's YEMIG. And I'm like, oh. So then we connected later in the day. We did a little Zoom, and it was lovely. And we were both talking about feeling like we needed something more than we were getting. She and I used to be accountability buddies way back when we first began going through coaching training. So a dozen years ago, however long it was. And maintained a contact for a long time in terms of doing work for each other, energy work. So we connected yesterday, and she said that she was realizing she needs that energy work in her life again, that she's been giving to others, but not really receiving. So she and I are going to alternate weeks again. 1 week it's my turn to receive, 1 week it's her turn to receive. And that little barter is going to be fabulous. And again, it arose at the divine right timing. We had begun to have the awareness we needed something more, and then this unfolded. Perfect. My guess is if you look back at your life, there are tons and tons and tons of opportunities like that have happened. Some of which you took, and some of which you didn't. And my guess is with some of the ones that you didn't take, there's regrets. what I see with people is when they get to the end of their life, they don't often regret the things they did. They often regret the things they didn't do, didn't take advantage of the opportunities that the universe provided. So we're being provided the opportunity for transformation. Can we go along with it? Can we slip into that flow and allow and see how it unfolds? We don't have to engineer everything and make it happen. We can just allow it to unfold. That card that we had about stop doing and start being, more opportunities to practice that. So today we're driving down to my sister's house and we'll drive back also. And so there's an opportunity to just be. Whenever I'm driving, that's kind of an opportunity to just be. So what about for you? What about for you? What is your transformation looking like? What is it sounding like? What is it feeling like? We'll do the whole NLP thing. And can you be with it? Can you just flow with it? Can you allow it to unfold? Can you do my friend Lynn Schuster's things of, I wonder how this is going to turn out, with great expectation? Carolyn, need to replenish. I'm feeling depleted. Yes, yes, yes. And it's good that you know that. So now take a moment. What would replenish you? What would be some nice things? And they don't have to be expensive things. You don't necessarily elaborate things. It could be, I'm going to sit with a cup of tea. It could be, I'm going to listen to some music. It could be, I'm going to journal for a while. I'm going to go for a walk in nature. I'm going to pet my animal. I'm going to, there's all kinds of things. I'm going to take a nap. All kinds of things that can fill the tanks up. What fills the tanks up? And that's interesting because I was thinking about that this morning. I had the image pop in my head, and this was the way it was explained to me, and I found it very helpful. If you think about yourself as a tank, an empty vessel, and there are these hoses coming in the top of the tank, and they're filling you up. So that would be everything from sleep to food to friendship to journaling to all the good stuff, right? Yoga, meditation, all the things that fill up your tank. And then there's the hoses at the bottom that are draining the tank. And that can be myriad things, right? Stressors, etc. You want to at least keep the fill as full as the flow out. It's good to keep it moving. It's good to keep it moving because then it keeps it fresh. But at least as much coming in as going out, if not more coming in. It's okay if you overflow because then you can give more to others. So Diane's going to the river today, the river being a place of flow, the river being a place where the energy is to fill us up. Good, good, good. Yeah. What else will you do today? What are some of the rest of you going to do today? Again, me driving is a good one. I can just be and observe, and I've got this cool meditation CD that I always play when I'm driving, which runs through the chakras, and it's just music, and I know it by heart. I know exactly which one's coming up next, and they're long. They're like 8 minutes long, and I think there's like 8 of them. So it's really 7 of them. There's 7 chakras. Anyway, it's just really a filling thing to listen to that. So what about for you? So your mission for today, should you choose to accept it, is to foster this transformation, to hold space for this transformation, to allow the cocooning right there, move it a little closer so you can see, being in the chrysalis, taking the time, the downtime, the quiet time, just be time, and let's see what happens. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are, including multiple transformations throughout the course of your life. Bye-bye.